Okay, why don't we get started then?
And we
Have
are
your
expecting
recorder
the
going?
applicant to log in as well. I think they were just, they were having a similar issue with the link. So we just
Oh,
forwarded them an updated one. So just wanted to give you a heads up.
okay. Well, we can wait a couple minutes for him to log on, sure.
Great, there he is. Yep. Okay, let me admit him.
Okay.
No, can I? Oh yeah, I thought you said, did I? I can. I don't, can you tell me that email address? I'll forward it. Okay. Sent. Sorry, we have one more, I think, with the applicant party.
Okay.
Mr. Abbott, is there anyone else besides Mr. Hughesby that you're expecting?
Nope, it should just be me and Darren.
Okay, great.
Okay, Ms. Eller, are we ready to go?
I believe so. We can just make sure that Darren gets a chance maybe to make sure his audio, that we can hear him.
Okay.
You guys hear me?
Yes, can you hear us?
Yep, we're good. Thank you.
Great. Okay, yes, I believe we are ready to go.
Okay, let's get our recorders going. I'll get it on my end. Ms. Eller, turn yours on, and then once I get the okay, it's recording, we'll get started.
Okay, yep, we are recording.
Okay, all right. Welcome, everybody. It is October 10th, 2024, 1 o'clock p.m. I'm Phil Albrecht, a hearing examiner for the city of Oak Harbor, today holding a hearing on an application for a preliminary plat composed of 36 lots. This is the first major stage in subdivision review, where we just consider the conceptual layout of the plat, the impacts it has on traffic and critical areas. Those are like wetlands and streams, and any adverse effects it might have on the neighboring community, the surrounding community. If the preliminary plat is approved, then the applicant has to put in the infrastructure that's proposed and approved, and then has to apply for final plat. And then once the final plat stage is approved, usually that's done by the city council. I don't recall how that's done in Oak Harbor, but once that final plat is approved, then the applicant can move forward and sell lots and that kind of thing. So the hearing format today is we'll start off with a presentation from staff. Mr. Lindenberg will give us, from the planning department, I presume will be giving us an overview of the project. Once he's finished, then we'll move on to the applicant comments. They'll have an opportunity to speak in favor of their application. After that, then finally we get to the point of today's hearing, which is to hear the public comments. And just saw last night, there's a considerable public interest in this. Several public comment letters. I've read them all. And of course, it looks like we have a few people out in the audience here today as well. Once we're done with all the public comments, we go back to Mr. Lindenberg to answer questions that were raised. Normally when we do these hearings, we wait. If you have questions, just ask them when you're up at the podium, and then we'll wait for Mr. Lindenberg to come back after all public comments are done for him to answer them all. Once Mr. Lindenberg is done, we'll move on to applicant. They get final word as a matter of due process, and I have 10 business days, which is a couple of weeks, to issue a final decision on the preliminary plat application. By state law, I'm only allowed to consider evidence that's put in the record today. I don't get to talk to staff about the project or read the newspapers or anything. That way, this ensures that the information I consider is information that's available to everybody else in the hearing process. What I see today is the only information I get on this project, and you all get to see that as well. And along those lines, I want to share the exhibits that Mr. Lindenberg wanted to put into the record. And let's see if I can, oh, here we go. Yeah. Going to share my screen, and this is just, and Sarah, can we all see the Mr. Lindenberg staff report on the screen at this point?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, the first page of Mr. Lindenberg's staff report, which identifies how the project complies with the code criteria for preliminary plat, has an exhibit list, which are the documents he wants to have placed in the record. He's got 5 listed there, which is the zoning map, the application materials, the public comments, SEPA materials. That's the environmental review. That's the documents looked at to decide whether an environmental impact statement has to be done or not. And the decision was made by staff in this one that an environmental impact statement was not necessary. And finally, the public notices that were involved. Exhibit 2, the application materials, is wish that was broken out a little bit better, but that's composed of several reports the applicant had to put together to show that he's has adequate infrastructure and won't be adversely impacting environmental resources. Those reports include a traffic study, an assessment of potential archaeological resources, Native American artifacts, that kind of thing at the project site, a geotechnical review, and some materials of that nature. So at this point, I just want to ask if anyone has any objection to entry of any of these documents or needs to see any of them. If you're out in the audience, just wave your hand. If you're participating virtually, click on the virtual hand, which, Ms. Heller, where is the virtual hand on this application? I'm usually use Zoom, so not used to this one.
I think the virtual hand is down in the bottom right.
Okay.
There's a
Yeah.
reactions button, I think,
Okay.
that'll allow you to do that.
Okay, I'm not seeing any virtual hands or objections. That's fairly standard for this kind of thing. So I'll go ahead and admit the staff report along with exhibits 1 through 5. And Mr. Lindenberg, are you out there somewhere?
I am, yes.
Okay, let me swear you in. First, just raise your right hand. Do you swear affirm to tell the truth, nothing but the truth in this proceeding?
I do.
Okay, great. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm going to make a brief presentation here. We do have the applicants available to answer questions and provide additional details if necessary. As you mentioned in your introduction there, the proposal is for 36 lots on an existing piece of land that is now 2 parcels of about 5.56 acres in total. The location of it is at the stub end of Capitol Street at the north portion of their property. Yeah, which is up there, and you can't see me, Mr. Albrechts, but it's on their screen here in the room. But anyway, Capitol Street connects at the north end, and then the proposal is to have another connection to the existing Scenic Heights Street on the east side, and then a stub out to the south end, which will connect to future development as kind of is typical in these situations, and is the connection to the north end as well. As the previous subdivision, Eagle Crest, there did the same thing. So we are attempting to connect those streets together to keep a gridded system of some sort to allow for traffic and pedestrians and people to move around efficiently without having to be all directed in the same location, which in this case would either be to Scenic Heights Street or to SR 20. Typically, the property slopes from the west to the east. downhill towards the water, which is located on the east in this situation in Oak Harbor Bay. The stormwater and all drainage will head that direction as well. There is a stormwater facility located in the southeast corner of the property that will treat and hold that water for a short period of time before it's released into the stormwater system. There is an existing drainage that goes through this property or comes from this property and goes across Scenic Heights Street into a pipe that goes over the bluff on an adjacent parcel there to the east as well. And that's been handling the drainage for some time to various levels of success, but I think we have gotten that mostly figured out at this point. This current proposal will kind of solve some of those problems, hopefully, and make sure that the water is taken care of in an efficient and safe manner. On the west side of the parcel there, you can see kind of an open space area that is a buffer for an existing wetland that is located off-site. But we do have buffer averaging to deal with there, so that's why there's an open space area there and the lack of building lots in that northwest corner, which will be just landscaped in native vegetation and allowed to be a buffer for that wetland area. As mentioned, we have 36 lots there, which falls within the typical density that we have allowed for in the R1 zone district. Those lot sizes will be 3,200 square feet or larger. As per our code requirements now. We did formerly require larger lots at 7,200 square feet, but part of our changes recently with our zoning has allowed for smaller lots of 40 feet by 80 feet, so a functional minimum lot size of 3,200. 2 tracts, as I mentioned, are set aside for the wetland buffer and the stormwater, and in a third tract, 998 provides physical access to a series of lots there. So that'll be a private roadway that will serve those lots 14 through 26 on the interior of the portion of the property there. We do have a landscaping plan for the above mentioned open spaces for the stormwater facility, and it's fine. Stormwater facility and the tract for the wetland area, detailing all of the plantings that are going to occur there, as well as street trees and frontage plantings that will occur on Scenic Heights, southwest Scenic Heights Street. So today for review, we do have the preliminary plat, a landscape plan, and then the house elevations that go along with the overall project. The house elevations are included because we include that as part of our aesthetic review that takes place through SEPA. The reason that we do that is because we used to do a lot more of the PRD projects, which had an aesthetics review included in that, but since the lower lot sizes and some of the process that makes it a little bit easier to go through a subdivision now, we've included the aesthetic considerations as part of the preliminary plat. Following items are submitted as part of the preliminary plat process, but do not require action by the hearing examiner. That's transportation concurrency and the SEPA that you identified earlier. We did do a SEPA MDNS, mitigated determination of non-significance, with a couple of conditions that included some of the concerns that were brought up by the county health department, as well as those aesthetics requirements that we have for the exterior elevations of the homes. So the preliminary plat, we go through the staff response. We feel that it does meet all of the criteria that are set forth in OHMC 21-20-070, talking about appropriate provisions made for the public health, safety, and general welfare, open spaces, drainage ways, transit stops, potable water, sanitary waste, parks and recreation, et cetera. And that is available in the staff report. I'm not going to read all that off, but we do feel that this application meets those standards and provides the necessary benefit to the community that we look for in these situations. As far as being consistent with the comprehensive plan, this area is designated as low-intensity residential land use, so that fits within the R1 zone district, and we do feel that it meets that criteria as well. The 36 units in the project are at 6.5 units per acre, which falls right in the middle of the 3 to 9 units per acre that is considered for R1 zoning. Also submitted with the preliminary plat were the preliminary civil plans, draft CCNRs, and other supporting documents that go along with a subdivision. Those are also not to be approved today, but they are used by staff to make sure that all of the standards that we have for our code requirements are being met within that subdivision. Again, just to go quickly through the landscape plan, it does show all the plantings that they have proposed. We feel that, staff feels that it meets the standards that are set forth in OHMC 1944 and 2160. 1944 being the landscape section and 2160 being the subdivision standards. On the eastern edge of that development, we do have Southwest Scenic Heights Street, which is a collector street, which requires a 10-foot landscape buffer as provided by OHMC 1946-030. So they do have that shown on there. And then within the subdivision, we have a 5-foot park strip with street trees and ground cover. The street trees were selected from the Seattle street tree list, which we have utilized in the past as appropriate vegetation for those spaces. They don't lift up the sidewalks or cause other problems like that. We do have perimeter vegetation shown on there as well. And then native vegetation composing about 15% of the total site area, which is the minimum. And then just the caveat there that details may be subject to change slightly if there's any civil plan changes or things like that. But the landscape plan will be generally adhered to as far as the overall intent of the landscape plan is to provide the screening and the native vegetation and the street trees, that sort of thing. Again, house elevations were provided. We reviewed those and see that they're kind of a general modern or neo-craftsman design style, which is common and popular right now. It has an appropriate level of detail and material quality, so we're comfortable with those. The transportation concurrency, staff will apply appropriate fees and bill the developer during the permitting phase, so we don't need to do any action on that today. And then, as you mentioned, we had public comment, and I addressed those in a section here. We had kind of generally boiling them down into a couple of categories, traffic concerns, stormwater, and wetland area concerns as well. The traffic concerns, are valid for sure. There's going to be a change in the traffic pattern in this neighborhood because of the potential development. Staff has reviewed a transportation or a traffic report prepared for this application and feels that the impact study shows that overall the proposed subdivision does not require further review or mitigation. Connecting to existing neighborhoods like this will change the traffic pattern, like I said, but it'll also allow for the folks that are living in the existing developed areas to access different routes to get to their destinations as well. We kind of expect these, situations when we do new housing developments, and it's a kind of an adjustment for everybody, but we understand that there are concerns on that. Stormwater from the proposed subdivision is not expected to impact neighboring parcels because it'll flow down the hill towards the southeastern corner there of their own parcel. The Eagle Crest neighborhood does have their own stormwater facility, which should not be impacted by this, as it is downhill, and there's no proposed changes to any of that that will be existing there. And then all of the wetland and other critical area standards are being adhered to as we require in our code. The wetland will be buffered per the requirements found in our state and local regulations. There is an existing Eagle Preserve that is near the site, about 500 feet away, I believe, from the nearest homes on this property. That was created during the construction of the Eagle Crest subdivision and continues to serve as a nesting site as it was designed. But the location of Preston Heights is buffered by existing houses and the trees within that preserve area. There will be construction noise and other impacts during the construction of this project, but we mitigate those with our construction hours and making sure that there's not dust and additional impacts that might occur. Going again to the SEPA checklist, we did go through an MDNS process that was issued on September 4th. We did not get any comments or appeals by October 3rd, so no further action is required on that. And then just as part of the review process, I think you touched on already, the decision process involves the staff review of the application, our presentation to you today, and then as outlined in 2120-080, The effect of the approval is to allow for the applicant to develop their construction plans for all the proposed improvements based in strict conformance with the approved preliminary plat, street and utility standards adopted by the city, and any special conditions. And then the construction of said improvements are not to begin until all plans have been approved in writing by the city engineer. So essentially what this does is it allows the applicant to move forward with any construction of utilities and infrastructure on the property. So in conclusion, we recommend approval on this based on the conditions that are listed at the end of your staff report there. I believe there are 17 total conditions, and some of those did come from the SEPA, as I mentioned, and others from kind of preliminary plat, planning department concerns or standards, I guess, and landscaping, and then also from our engineering division. So with that, that kind of concludes my presentation. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Just, kind of the overwhelming concern in the many letters submitted on this project was over transportation impacts. And you had mentioned that that's addressed during concurrency review. I think just for the benefit of the audience, kind of explain what concurrency review is, what standards are applied, and what the city's engineer or whoever does that review will be looking at.
Right. So what we got with the application was a transportation impact study. And what that study does is it reviews traffic counts at localized intersections close to the project itself. It determined that there were not going to be any quote-unquote failures where we have significant traffic problems caused by the increased traffic of this particular subdivision. That being said, the transportation concurrency is a fee that is paid by each single-family home or new project to help pay for new transportation facilities, traffic lights, crosswalks, et cetera. So that will be paid at the time of permitting. And part of the issue that we have here and the understanding that we have as well is that the traffic concerns stem a lot from what's happening on the highway. And unfortunately, we are not entirely in control of that. The State Highway Department has told us that they are going to be constructing roundabouts on SR 20 through going towards town. The timeline of that we are not exactly certain about, but it's hopefully going to be in the next few years. So there is that. There are other routes to get out to go through off of Scenic Heights as well. Like I said, it is going to be a change for everybody over there, but hopefully we'll make it as least impactful as possible.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was wondering, because I looked at the traffic report, and it was pretty basic. It just kind of identified how much traffic was going to go where. I didn't see any level of service analysis of intersections. Did I miss something, or is it simply that the types of intersections affected weren't subject to a level of service in the city?
I believe that is correct because it is the state highway.
Okay, yeah. So the local intersections then going to the state highway, those weren't subject to any level of service. Is that what's going on?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right. And just out of curiosity, I mean, does Public Works look at kind of the off-site routes to see if the roads are, otherwise adequate and safe to accommodate the traffic?
I'm sorry. What was that question?
Does your Public Works Department look at the off-site roads that are affected just to see if they're adequate to handle the traffic beyond the level of service, or is that kind of the only consideration?
Level of service is kind of the consideration. I think that for the most part, the local streets in that area are not even close to being at a failure level. It's just the state highway that's kind of the problem. And the problem is that you have to go on the state highway to get a lot of places. So that's going to be the key there, is to kind of hold the state highway department to what they're supposed to be doing, which is providing us a better level of service there.
Right, yeah. And also there's a reference to impact fees during concurrency review. I take it those are traffic impact fees, is that correct?
Yeah, we call them traffic concurrency fees, but yes.
Okay, all right. And for the audience's knowledge, traffic concurrency fees or impact fees are assessed to address the impacts to the city's street system from the project. So the developer's required to kind of pay their proportionate share of impact to the road system as a whole, and the city then takes that money and spends it on priority street improvement projects throughout the city usually. So with that, let's move on to the applicants. The applicants at this point, did you want to say anything? Is that you, Mr. Abbott?
That would be me, yes.
Okay, let me swear you in. Just raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, nothing but the truth in this proceeding?
I do.
Okay, great. Go ahead.
Yeah, would definitely agree with Mr. Lindberg's assessment of the site and his very thorough explanation of it. Agree with the staff report, as well as the summary of responses to the public, to the public comments that have come in. Do want to also make note that not only in the northwestern portion of the site plan that Mr. Lindberg was sharing earlier is there open space related to the critical area, but I guess, voluntarily designated open space on the south end of the project. No critical area associated with it, but just on some sloped area south of Lot 14 has been just kind of set aside as a not to disturb area, just additional open space on the site as well. So, but other than that, I think the city did a fine job of presenting the project, and we agree with the report, and yeah, open for any questions.
No, pretty straightforward. Thank you, sir. Let's move on finally now to public comments, and we'll start off with comments from people in the room. Anyone who wants to speak, we'll go through the, I guess, Ms. Heller, is there a sign-in sheet that was used today?
Yes, I do have a list. I'm happy to kind of go down that list if you'd like.
Sure. Yeah. Just call people on the list who want to speak, and those of you who are called and want to speak, just move up to the podium. I'll swear you in, and then you can go ahead and make your comments. So go ahead, Ms. Heller.
Okay, let me apologize in advance if I mispronounce anybody's name or misread. I think the first name we have written here is Dan Booker.
That's me.
Okay,
I'd like to speak.
great.
Okay.
Yeah, you could go to the podium and the hearing examiner will swear you in.
Okay, Mr. Booker, let me swear you in. Do you swear to affirm, tell the truth, nothing but the truth in this proceeding?
I sure will, yep.
Okay, great. Go ahead.
Okay, so my name is Dan Booker. I'm the vice president of Eagle Crest. It's a subdivision of 67 homes, and I'm here today as a representative of those 67 homes. We sent in a lot of letters. I'm sure the people that were in charge of reading those letters can verify. There's been at least 30 letters that were submitted in opposition to this development. Our concerns, and I know that some of them were addressed here today, and we certainly do appreciate that, but just to go on record, we've been a small, tranquil community since the early 1990s, and obviously this is going to be a major impact to our lifestyle, our way of life, and what we've enjoyed for the last couple decades. That does not make us happy at all. I know that probably doesn't resonate and mean a lot, but I just want it on record representing their 67 homes. The traffic congestion is a very huge concern. I understand that the city or the engineers or whoever's responsible for doing the analysis said that it's not going to be a big deal. But if you live on Southwest Capitol, or if you live on Eagle Vista or Talon Loop, or if you're coming from that dirt road that is a county road that joins to Scenic Heights, and you try to get on Highway 20, during rush hour, which I'll define that as any time between 6:30 in the morning till 10 o'clock in the morning, and then again probably 3 o'clock in the afternoon till 7 o'clock, you can wait sometimes up to 6 minutes just to get access onto or off of Highway 20. And it's actually a dangerous intersection there. So by adding 36 more homes, a simple math process would say we're at least going to have 36 cars. Usually there's 2 cars per house. We can do that math and figure out that this is going to be an impact of negative effect to the surrounding area and the safety of that corner of Eagle Vista and Highway 20. The construction and the noise, the dust, again, the impact on all of us. I'm not sure. I'm not one to stand in the way of progress. I know that the city wants to grow, and I know that we're probably in the growth corridor heading south into the Coopville area. But the noise and the dust is going to be something that nobody's going to want to deal with. It's probably going to take 2 years for this project to reach and culminate to its final phases, and it's going to be grateful impact-wise on us and all of our residents. It was mentioned that we have an eagle preserve within 500 feet of the proposed development. That is true. And I heard the gentleman say that Eagle Preserve is, I think he said that it was bounded by or surrounded by homes, that there was a buffer. I would just like somebody to take a look at the federal statutes that state that you cannot build or disrupt an Eagle Preserve, and I don't think homes constitute a barrier to give us the authority to go ahead and build. I'm not even sure that it's 500 feet. It might be more than 500 feet. It might be 1,000. The retention pond. We do have a retention pond on Eagle Crest. It's in the northwest. It's right next to the proposed development. It's in the northwest section of the bottom corner where they're going to be. We do have issues with that retention pond flooding at times. I do not know what the plans are for this new proposed development as far as how to evacuate that water. Is our retention pond going to go into a shared pipe to get out into the waterways or not? If it's going to be a shared pipe, again, that's going to be a problem as well. Every year we have issues with the drainage of that retention pond, and that retention pond is large. It goes from Highway 20 all the way to Southwest Capitol, and it's the only way that we can evacuate all the water in our 67-home subdivision. So with that, I'll yield to anybody else who has questions. I thank you for your time, and I hope that you will at least put this in the record, and everything I said, put it up for consideration. Thank you.
Ms. Heller, next.
The next name, I apologize, I can't read the last name, but the first name is Zach. Would you like to comment? Okay.
Zach Cundiff, I live on Scenic Heights.
Okay, let me swear you in, sir. Just raise your right hand. You swear, affirm, tell the truth, nothing but the truth in this proceeding?
Yes.
Okay, great. Go ahead.
I share a lot of the same concerns that were just spoken here. Primary one is one of safety. Scenic Heights, at first glance, looks like a quiet, peaceful road. It is not. My family moved there November of 21. Shortly thereafter, police officer came by, let us know that somebody was going up and down the street, stealing mail out of the mailboxes. That didn't make us feel safe. We put in a lockable mailbox, fine. People speed on that road. Because of the congestion on Highway 20, people turn down Scenic Heights. They go well above the speed limit, go way too fast on a road with hills, corners, bad sightlines. It's not safe. Frequently, we'll find at the bottom of our driveway beer cans, broken bottles. We know people are just throwing them out of the car windows as they're driving past. It's illegal. It's not safe. It's gotten to the point that I'm nervous to send my kids to go get the mail or take down the trash. My daughter's getting to the age that she's soon going to want to walk or ride her bike out to Starbucks or 7-Eleven with her friends, and we already don't feel safe with that. And if you add 36 homes there, the problem's just going to get worse. That's my primary concern.
Sir? Okay, Ms. Heller?
The next name we have is Don Stuckey.
I have no further comment other than what Dan spoke to.
Okay, we'll move down the list. The next, we have two names here. It looks like Keith and Kate Houter. We do have someone approaching.
I'm Keith Hodder. I live on Scenic Heights.
Ms. Heller, let me swear you in. Swear, affirm, tell the truth, nothing but the truth in this proceeding?
I do.
Great, go ahead.
Okay, so my concern is not so much I'm not going to be able to stop the houses from being built right next to me. My property borders where that lot is. I'm not going to be able to stop that. I realize that, but I am concerned about the additional traffic on Scenic Heights, and it was already brought up that cars go very fast there, and there's a lot of blind curves, hills, and all this. Right there, probably within, I don't know, 150 yards of my driveway. So, you just don't see cars coming over the crest of a hill, and then all of a sudden you pull out and they're right there on you. So there's that. And then Scenic Heights is a popular street within the community for people to bicycle down and also walk. And then they go on out to Penn Cove Road and all that. And so it's a popular place. There's a heavy traffic for bicyclists and walkers, and there's no sidewalks or no bike lanes. So is that even a consideration?
Thank you, sir. Okay, Ms. Heller?
Next is Mr. Hewlett.
All right, Mr. Hewitt, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, nothing but the truth in this proceeding?
As far as I know, yes.
Okay, great.
The reason I qualified that was because there are a lot of opinions flying around, and I think it's important that the opinions be heard as well as the facts. As Mr. Hodder expressed, Scenic Heights is a very dangerous street, and it's at the point of almost of collapse. In the vicinity of this development, there are no provisions for sidewalks. There are no provisions for school bus parking, even, for picking up and delivering kids. And routinely, my wife walks on Scenic Heights Street, and in the vicinity of our property, she has to jump into the bushes, in effect, to save herself. And I've accompanied her on some of those walks, but it's pretty scary. The fall guy in this is the state of Washington and the highway department and so forth. And I think that's a misrepresentation, because the responsibility here is to take care of the concerns of the population and the planning processes and so forth. And as Mr. Hodder suggested, the sight lines are terrible. The congestion is significant, especially at certain times of the day. And if there are any accidents on Highway 20, a lot of people know to jump over to Scenic Heights, and that becomes an additional traffic hazard. I'm just saying there are a litany of hazards, and I have not read the traffic study for this site, but typically they do not include delivery vehicles, which have become omnipresent in our neighborhoods of late, ever since COVID started. The number of delivery vehicles has increased exponentially, and every day there's FedEx, Amazon, you name it, United Postal or U.S. Postal Service or UPS. They're all represented in a typical day on that street, and sometimes they park in the street or kind of double park and run down our driveway with packages and so forth, which is ridiculous, but they can't get off of the thoroughfare there because there are no provisions for that. So we'd like to see that addressed. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Heller?
The last name we have here on the list, I'm sorry. Yes. Is there two of you? Just Chris? Okay. Yes, if you would like to comment. Okay.
Okay, ma'am. And what's your name for the record?
Christy DiMatteo.
Okay, let me swear you in. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, nothing but the truth in this proceeding?
I do.
Okay, great. Go ahead.
I just want to reaffirm what's been said. I've lived on Scenic Heights for several years. I'm an avid walker, runner, cyclist. It has become unsafe. We need a sidewalk, we need a bike lane, and I'm hopeful that we will have help for all residents and for the children and whoever comes into our community, that there might be help for us that way. And just the construction, traffic revisions, whatever we need, it's not a safe environment for the locals that live there. And to add population increase is a huge impact on all of us in our neighborhoods. So really hopeful for some change going forward. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. All right, Ms. Heller said that was the last for people in the room. If anyone else in the room wants to speak, raise your hand or something. Any takers, Ms. Heller?
Yes, there is one more person.
Don Stecky, I'm on the.
Oh, yes, Don Stecky. He's early up on the list. He's approaching the podium.
Oh, Mr. Stuckey again? Okay, so still, sir.
Do you do the?
Go ahead.
I'm
All right, are you in? Okay.
Sorry, Mr. Albert, your
Where-
mic is just kind of breaking up.
Nothing. Oh.
Okay, I think your mic broke up for a second, but your video is looking like it's come back now. I think we might be able to hear you now. If you want to try again.
Okay. All right, and I take it Mr. Stuckey's already been sworn in, is that correct?
No, he chose to skip earlier, so he'd like to comment now, so that he has not been sworn in yet.
Oh, okay, all right, all right. Do you swear or affirm Mr. Stuckey tell the truth, nothing but the truth in this proceeding?
I do.
Okay, great. Go ahead.
Okay, I just wanted to concur with the traffic concerns that a lot of the people in the neighborhood have. I walk down Scenic Heights, go for my walk pretty much every day. I live up in the Eagle Crest neighborhood. I walk down Friend Street and then walk down Scenic Heights and then up 29th. So I'm very familiar with the traffic on Scenic Heights. I walk at different times of the day, and as was stated, there's really no sidewalks or even a bike lane or anything on that road. When a car comes, I have to get off the road into the grass on the side and let the car pass before I can continue on the walk. Also, when you come down Friend Street, which is the way that most of the people in the Eagle Crest neighborhood would go to downtown, the way Scenic Heights Road is curved, it's a blind intersection there to get out from from Friend Street to Scenic Heights. You cannot see the cars that come at you from the right-hand side until they're almost on top of you. So it's very dangerous. I've almost been hit a couple times by cars speeding down Scenic Heights when you try to get out on there from Friend Street. So that is a very dangerous intersection, and I just fear with more cars coming down Scenic Heights, it would even be more so. And thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
All right, okay. And, okay, so Ms. Heller, I don't see anyone participating virtually who's a potential speaker, is that right?
That's correct. There's no other virtual attendees, and all attendees in person have spoken.
Okay, let's bounce back to Mr. Lindenberg. And Mr. Lindenberg, a lot of questions about Scenic Heights Street. And I noticed, if I read the development plans correctly, there will be a sidewalk put along there. I'm kind of curious where the nearest sidewalks are to this particular project, what the walking conditions are right now. And also, I neglected to ask, this is an important part of the subdivision statute, is it requires safe walking conditions to and from school. Has any assessment been made about what those conditions will be like? I mean, is there going to be a school bus stop nearby that students are going to walk to, and what's it going to be like walking to that bus stop? Or will students be actually walking all the way to a nearby school? Could you address those questions?
Yes. My understanding is that in circumstances like this, the safe walking routes unfortunately doesn't necessarily apply because there are no sidewalks on Scenic Heights, as have been mentioned. That's absolutely true until you get quite a ways closer to SR 20 to the north. This particular application proposes to install sidewalks, and that's kind of part of the catch-22 of development in these types of situations is the development itself is going to be the one that provides that sidewalk, and of course it will be the one that increases the traffic as well. So there's that issue. The other concern I heard that people continue north on Friend Street to get to Scenic Heights. This road would actually provide an alternate to that, and the blind corner concern there is kind of eliminated because the new Southwest 29th, and that was referred to, you can kind of see it on this aerial photo, Southwest 29th Place is the dirt driveway that somebody else had referred to as well. We used to go to 2 houses there and connects through. But that will actually be a really good visibility intersection there. Is the way the road bends is it's bending away and providing visibility there. The speed limit on Scenic Heights Street, I believe, is 35 miles per hour. That's certainly something that we can take a look at, maybe adjusting if there are problems there. As far as, future sidewalks and bike lanes and things like that, we would love to have that. And that's part of why we have those transportation impact fees or concurrency fees, is to pay for things like that. And that is definitely, on the list of wants and needs in this area. As it develops more, somebody pointed out that, this is kind of the development corridor right now. With a part of what you see there in that map is in the county, but that's probably not going to be the case forever. As we continue to grow in the city of Oak Harbor, we're going to have to maneuver some of those urban growth areas outward to allow for that. So the long story short, best practices of planning and transportation engineering is to provide more routes for people to disperse, to reduce the impacts of increased traffic over a larger area. And so if somebody wants to go south to Southwest 29th from Eagle Crest, they are welcome to do that. They're all public streets and they can go that direction. And maybe that alleviates some of the concern on Friend Street, or maybe that alleviates some of the concern going out onto the highway. I don't disagree with anything people have said here today. There's traffic there for sure. And we're going to work through that and try and get some improvements through developments like this and potential future ones. There's another development across the street there that'll be building sidewalks as well. So for a very short portion of Scenic Heights, there'll be sidewalks. And if there's future development, there'll be sidewalks required for those developments as well.
All right, this one we're at, but do you know where the school bus stop will be located for this project, the nearest one?
I don't know for certain. I would presume that for the kids that live in these subdivisions, they would have either a stop at the base of Southwest 29th on Scenic Heights, or perhaps the bus might loop through the existing neighborhood and then be able to come out back onto Scenic Heights Street after going down Capitol. But I don't know, and I know that they change their bus routes on a fairly frequent basis depending on demand.
Okay. And I take it there's no school within walking distance. The kids will be bused. Is that correct?
There is not. Yeah, all the schools are quite a distance away from here.
Okay, good to know. All right, let's move on to Mr. Abbott for any final comments he wishes to make.
Just one that I can speak to as the engineer of record on the site as well. Regarding drainage, we are going to be discharging into the pipe that takes the discharge flow from Eagle Crest, as I understand how it was described here. But it is very much towards the end of the intersection of Southwest 29th and Scenic Heights. So down right at the base of the hill is where we're going to be discharging into it. So don't anticipate any detrimental effects to the pond on Eagle Crest regarding how we're going to be collecting our stormwater and then putting it in the detention vault that's at the southeast corner of our site, and then mitigating the flow out in kind of a slower fashion than just letting it all gush out at once. It'll be a metered flow to match historic drainage and runoff conditions. So it'll essentially cause a better solution with mitigated stormwater than just the straight runoff that comes off the site as it does now. So hopefully things will continue to get better. I also understand that the city has just made upgrades to the stormwater as it goes east from Scenic Heights, pretty much from where we make connection to it, and then it goes east. The city did a separate project in recent years to, as much as I understand it, increase capacity and unrestrict some flow there. So hopefully any negative stormwater and drainage history will get better in forthcoming years, but I just know that the outcome of this project will not have any detrimental impact to anybody upstream.
Great, thanks, Mr. Abbott. All right, I think with that, I can go ahead and close the public hearing. I think any of you out there who want a copy of the decision that I write up, make sure that Ms. Heller has your email address. Ms. Heller, is there a place for them to put their email address in the sign-in sheet?
I will collect email addresses just as soon as we're
Okay,
wrapped
yeah,
up here.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're entitled to get a copy mailed to you if you want, but obviously it's easier on everybody if you have an email address, and Ms. Heller can then email it to you. Also, if any of you are curious to look at the development plans, that kind of stuff, Ms. Heller can email that to you as well. There's the application materials I referenced have a plat map which shows how the lots are laid out and where the sidewalks are going to be, and it also has the traffic study I know that a lot of you are interested in, and the stormwater analysis, that kind of thing. So if you need, if you have more questions, those materials probably would answer a lot of them. Like I said, I have a couple of weeks to issue that final decision. It tends to be fairly detailed. It should address how all of your concerns are going to be addressed by the decision if it's approved, which is likely. It looks like it probably meets the criteria. One outstanding issue that I asked a lot of questions about was the walking conditions to and from school. There's a state statute that's very clear that says you have to, subdivisions to be approved have to provide adequate traffic facilities, parks, and sidewalks, and all that kind of stuff. And then that requirement ends with safe walking conditions to and from school. Different cities address that differently. A lot of cities, though, require an actual walking conditions analysis to be prepared. There are even consultants that do that kind of thing. I think for this case, since there were a lot of concerns about the walking conditions on the Height Street, that will require the city and applicant to consult with the schools to where the bus stop is, and the applicant may be required to do some off-site improvements to ensure safe walking conditions. The applicant can't be required to put in sidewalks that go beyond the project frontage, but they can be required to maybe put in a pedestrian path or a crosswalk or something of that nature, just to make sure that those kids are safe. I think that's an important consideration in preliminary plat review, and I'll make sure that that's taken care of, given the comments about the abutting street. So with that, I think we're done for today, and I appreciate you all coming down to express your comments. Like I said, I'll be sure to address them in the final decision. And beyond that,